Hey everyone, Larry here, and welcome back to Hey, It's a Review. And today I'm going to be talking with you about Flash Season 8, Episode 1. Thanks for watching, and if you are new here, please don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. So, before I talk about the most recent episode, I wanted to give a few of my thoughts on the previous season and what I hope to see in this upcoming season. So, Season 7 of Flash was very difficult and very hard to watch. I personally felt off-put, I guess is the right word, with the other forces are my children thing that Barry and Iris seem to be pushing. Solely because, you have the Sage Force, you have the Strength Force, you have the Still Force. And then, the Speed Force is there as well. So how I kind of would think of that is all those other forces are in the same tier of the Speed Force, being these entities that exist. As usual, the Speed Force always takes the shape of Nora, but Barry's mom. So that's kind of what I thought would happen, but then they kept referring to them as like their children, which was kind of strange because they were like, we created these things, but then the individuals who received these different forces all had lives prior. So wouldn't that make them more like the Flash than their children? That just didn't land with me. I'd be curious what you thought about that too, for those of you who have watched that. Additionally, Godspeed just kind of felt thrown in there. And I know this is due to, the pandemic and filming and putting together stories and whatnot, but why was Godspeed a threat? Like, why did he matter in that season? They kept referring to it as a Godspeed war. All the Godspeed stuff came in maybe like the last 3 episodes. Like, yeah, we saw sprinklings of him throughout, but I don't see what was so threatening about Godspeed. But one interesting thing that happened was Barry had a final fight with Thawne, Reverse Flash. And in that fight, we saw Barry moving a lot faster than we've ever seen him move before. So I'd be very curious if that was just a one-off thing, or is that something that he's going to be continuing throughout Season 8? Because to me, he was hitting a different level of speed that we haven't seen before yet on the show. Let's get to the episode. So the episode starts off with an individual standing in 2031 Central City, and the city's on fire. Then we flash to Barry going to save a colliding train, and how they show us this is we just see the lightning zooming in and out of the train, getting the people off the train, and then Barry smashes through the glass to get out of the train. Why he did not phase, I do not know, but that's always a thing with Barry, not using speed properly in situations. But he smashed through the glass, whatever. New things, the Citizen now has a podcast, which I think actually works a bit better. Just because I feel like across many of these shows, there's always that reporting angle, so it's nice to see something a little bit different, low-key, a little bit more modern, which I think works for more the Central City vibe that we've seen so far. We have a conversation with Captain Kramer, which just brought me back to the shock of Season 7 with her mimic ability, Peter Petrelli kind of power, for those of you who know that reference. I also liked that the CC Citizen Media, so Central City Citizen Media is what it's called now, but I like that there was a team of people there. It's not just Allegra and Iris, but there's other people who also work there to make sure that the podcast, the paper, it has everything that it needs. And lo and behold, doesn't take too long into the episode, Barry's there again talking about babies. And yes, we saw Impulse, we saw Nora at the end of last season. Nora Excess, like his daughter, there last season. And yeah, it was cool to see them, whatever. But like, let's leave the family stuff in the past. Like, we don't need to do that again. Like, I'm not there for the baby talk and like life stuff. Like, it just was so off-putting. I don't want to have it mentioned again. Ray Palmer shows up, and something that I thought was actually funny is they ask Ray how Nora is, and that's something I never noticed. So we have Ray's Nora, Barry's real mom Nora, Speed Force daughter, mother, embodiment Nora, excess Nora. Why does she have that name? But there's so many Noras in DC. Who knew? I thought it was awesome. We see Barry fighting the Royal Flush gang. The card puns that this gang was using was out of control. I would love to see them pop up again, different cards, but that was exciting. Captain Kramer mentions that she has her mimic powers and that they activate during times of stress, which is really good to know. Just because if it was a thing of proximity, she might pick up the speed of the Flash, like she did pick up speed when Godspeed was around. So it's good to know that it's stress-induced, because Barry would then have some explaining to do. So it goes to a prison break, and something that I like that I've seen so far in this episode is they're having Barry just go do stuff without us needing to follow him and having that CG. Like, he's just going and he goes zips, zoop, 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 zoop. The lightning, he goes, he handles it, then he comes back. Like, we're not wasting time seeing him doing all that stuff with them. I just like that he went off and did it and came back. Even with the Royal Flush Gang, I have to give him props. Like, he went back into Flash time and his speed thinking. He thought of how, if he does this, if he changes someone doing this, does this, they're going to hit them. Like, that's the kind of stuff we should have been seeing from this Barry in the Flash. Like, moving faster, doing what Oliver really trained him to do in season 1 when he first came on, actually. It was like surveying the scene because he could get there quick, analyze it, and come up with stuff to do. Like, that was very cool. Despero. So we learned that the guy from that future, that individual I mentioned in the beginning, is Despero. Barry and the Atom are fighting Despero. Barry uses duplicates. He's finally using his powers. Barry then gets a vision of the Armageddon where he breaks the world. It was pretty cool to see Ray make the foundation in the name of Chester's dad. One thing, though, that is going to get old really quickly is if they make Chester fanboy after everybody that he interacts with and meets in this show. Did it with Cisco a bit. Started to do it with Ray in this episode. So hopefully when he sees Ryan Choi, he's not like, Ryan Choi? Oh. But anyway, like, I'm glad that, you know, they found. I really love the episode where we learn more about Chester's dad in the past, so it was nice to see that brought back into the episodes. Flash reveals his identity to show Despero that he's Barry Allen and he has nothing to hide. Despero says that he will observe the Flash to make sure that there are no darker intentions, but really liked this episode so far. It could have just been a one-off, but we'll see. The first 5 episodes are this event called Armageddon, so we will see what it's really like when, you know, we move on to the rest of the season. But really liked it. I like that they cut away and just had Barry go and do his stuff, and no need for like, Barry, you should run here. He just went and did it. Even with Cecile, no more noise and like zoom on her face of like, oh, I'm feeling this. You know, she just would say to someone, I'm sensing this from you. Like, that's good. Like, we don't need to hear that sound. We don't need to hear that, like, let's keep going. So, we'll see if this continues, but thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.